And we are back for our college football week 0 best bets here on the channel. We're going to be doing this weekly in addition to our full college football predictions, where of course we predict every single college football game. We're going to do more than that this year, as at the end of the week, probably on Thursday nights around 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be giving you my best bets for the week. So this week it's only 5 best bets because there's only 5 games, but next week with that huge slate, I'm probably going to go to 10 or 15 best bets. Again, I'm still going to break down every single game. I'm still going to predict every single game, but now this just gives me a chance to tell you guys what I feel like are the best bets per week. And this is, again, beyond just money lines, beyond just spreads. We're going to have player props. We're going to have team total overs, unders, potentially. Again, everything is on the table here. It's just my favorite 5 best bets for the week. And it so happens, obviously, this week, there are 5 games. And that means we have 5 best bets. 1 bet per every single game. Now, before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly college football content here on the channel. Again, we're expanding what we're doing this year with college football. Same can be said about the NFL season. Planning on doing probably 3 videos a week for the NFL season. Full predictions, all 16 games, best player props video, and best bets video. So we'll get to that again when the NFL season starts post Labor Day. Let's do it. Again, hit that subscribe button down below for more. Our first best bet is coming in a second, because make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily MLB best bets and Greedo plays MMA for our MMA content. We've got our UFC Shanghai predictions that are up on the channel right now. That is linked in the description down below. Road to UFC predictions also later tonight, like the cards tonight. Anyways, let's get on to the first of our 5 best bets. Our first bet of the video is a player prop. I'm going Avery Johnson over 199.5 passing yards. That line is set at -115. I believe Johnson goes over that mark. I know this is a tough line to play for Avery Johnson. I completely understand that, but I do think he's going to go over it today against Iowa State. For reference, last year in that Iowa State versus K-State matchup in Iowa, Avery Johnson did throw for 220 yards. He attempted 28 passes, and he only completed 12 of those, but he still went over the mark. 3 of the catches went to Jace Brown, 4 of them went to Garrett Oakley, and Johnson went over that line with Brown with 106 yards and Oakley with 78. Both these guys are back on the team here in 2025, both of which are juniors, I believe. I know Oakley is. I think Brown's a junior too. Same receiving core for the most part, at least, the guys that were big in that game against Iowa State last season, and we're hoping for a higher completion rate out of Avery Johnson here in 2025. Just towards the end of the year, Johnson struggled again with completion rate. But again, I think this is a solid number for him to hit. I get it. Most of the year last year was back and forth under and over that 200-yard mark. I think he's going to be okay here, especially with a new running back, obviously, in the room. Well, no, not new running back, but new starting running back for Kansas State. That's obviously Dylan Edwards, the former UCF Knight. He is officially the starter now with DJ Giddens moving on to the National Football League. I'm not going to be surprised if Dylan Edwards goes over, his yard total today or on Saturday, which is 79.5. I think he probably goes over it too, but I feel better about Avery Johnson just because I don't know what Dylan Edwards is going to be in his first game starting in the Big 12 as a starter. I know he had a monster game in their bowl game last year, 190 rushing yards in the bowl game for Edwards. We'll see. Different beast, obviously, going up against Iowa State. Last year, DJ Giddens only had 72 yards on 14 carries against the Cyclones in a game in which Iowa State won by 8 points, 29-21. And again, we think K-State's probably going to win this matchup in Ireland, but the line's 3.5. I don't like it. If I could have got 2.5 at a good price, I would have taken it for K-State. Unless that drops to the -130-ish range, I'm not going to play it at -145. I don't think it's good enough value. So instead, again, Avery Johnson, I think this is a solid line for the guy. Last year, he had 220 yards against Iowa State on 12 completed passes. Jace Brown averaged 35 yards a catch against Iowa State, and that's a positive for us because, again, the guy completed 12 passes, and he still went over this yard mark. I think we're okay here. I truly think we are. I'd expect some points scored in this game. I think we'll see how Iowa State plays. Again, Rocco Becht last year only with 137 yards against K-State. He was 13 for 35 on his completions to attempts ratio. Again, we'll see how that changes this game, but I do believe Avery Johnson is going to go out here. I think he's going to put up numbers on Iowa State, and I do think it's a combination of, okay, Avery Johnson's been here. He had a decent enough game. I mean, 3 touchdowns last year against Iowa State. If we're able to complete more passes this year, we should be fine. We'll see how big of a factor Dylan Edwards is. Obviously, he's the lead back for Kansas State, and he is a more than, capable running back, right? Obviously, we saw that at the end of the year last year for Kansas State against Rutgers in the Rate Bowl. Is he going to get a million carries this game? Again, it's a Big 12 game starting off the year. The first game of the college football season in 2025 is a Big 12 football game, a conference game. Legitimate playoff implications. Again, do I think K-State or Iowa State are going to win the division or the conference? No, I do believe it's going to be the Utah Utes and Devin Dampier. Or Arizona State. Arizona State's right there. They're neck and neck for me. But again, two ranked squads in week number 0. It's a very meaningful game, and I believe Avery Johnson, who again returns as a starter once again for Kansas State, is going to have a big game. Big season, we'll see, but give me Avery Johnson over 199.5 total passing yards. Again, the line is set at minus 115. I believe Johnson goes over that mark against the Iowa State Cyclones. On now to our second best bet of the video. We go to the matchup being played at Allegiant Stadium between the UNLV Rebels and the Idaho State Bengals. I'm going with Idaho State under team total points. The line is 19.5, or at least, again, it's set at 19.5. Minus 105 are the odds for this play. I'm going to take it for a couple reasons here. Again, as I've jumped more and dove in? As I've taken a deeper dive, there we go, it's English. As I've taken a deeper dive into this game between Idaho State and UNLV, I don't think Idaho State's going to be able to keep up with UNLV at all. I don't think so. We'll see again what happens, with that offense, obviously, losing Hodge Malik Williams. We'll see what it is, right? We'll see what UNLV does this weekend. I just don't think Idaho State's going to be able to score. I don't think so, right? So that's why I'm taking away the UNLV side of this equation, because I don't know what their offense is going to look like. I just don't. Again, it is going to be Orgy if I'm not mistaken. No, it's Calandria. They're really starting Calandria? I don't know about that. See, that's why, again, I don't trust that. That's why we're just going with the team total under. Again, I think UNLV is going to win the football game. Do I think they still cover it? Probably. The better bet is Idaho State's offense not scoring against UNLV, because UNLV's defense was really good to close the year last year. I mean, again, different team, different personnel, sure. Last 4 games of the year, they did not give up more. The most points they gave up in the last 4 games of their season was 21, and that was in the Mountain West Championship game at Boise. Again, with Ashton Genty and that dominant Boise team that is likely going to go back to the postseason this year. Lost the game 21-7 against Boise State. Their last 4 games, I was at the San Jose State UNLV game. Sure, it was an absolute monsoon in San Jose, California. Well, San Jose State, with that great offense at times. Walker Aguette, Nick Nash obviously won the Triple Crown last season. UNLV held Nick Nash to 1 catch on 9 yards and 16 points in total for the San Jose State Spartans. Now, Walker Aguette went like 2 for 12 throwing the ball that game because, it was slippery as hell and it was raining everywhere. But got to give UNLV credit. They stepped the run game, didn't let Floyd Chalk do anything. You look at their game against Nevada. I get it, UNR wasn't great last season, but UNLV beats them 38-14, and they get into the Los Angeles Bowl, and they dominate the Cal Bears, winning that game 24-13. Now, Fernando Mendoza, potential future Heisman candidate this season, just you wait, for the University of Indiana. I did not play that game in the no longer Rob Gronkowski Los Angeles Bowl, the Art of Sport Los Angeles Bowl, and Hodge Malik Williams, 5 for 18 on passing attempts that game. One hell of a final game for him. But anyways, UNLV held that Cal offense, albeit a not up to par Cal offense, to 13 points. Look at what Idaho State did at the end of the year. They played Idaho in their final game. That's their rivalry game. They scored 17 points. Scored 17 points in the final game year. Their senior quarterback last year, Kobe Tracy, who had over 8,800 yards as a member of the Idaho State Bobcats, 62 touchdowns throughout his career, is no longer there. He has obviously graduated. It's a new quarterback, new personnel in the offense. And sure, they had a quarterback last year, and Kobe Tracy, who would put over 300 yards, or he would get over that 300-yard mark several times, put 425 on the Cal Poly Mustangs at one point of the year last October at San Luis Obispo. Again, you take him away from the offense. Don't love it. Also, look at Idaho State's game last year against a FBS team. They went to Corvallis. They played Oregon State. They lost the game 38-15. I completely get it. Different personnel. But again, the difference between Oregon State and UNLV, guys, UNLV's better than Oregon State. They were better last year. They're better this year. And this year's UNLV team is better than last year's Oregon State team. I firmly believe that, okay? There's a reason, right? The Pac-12, when it comes back with Wazoo and with the Beavs, are going to be a group of 6 conference. Because, the teams in the Pac-12 right now, or the 2 teams in the Pac-12 right now, aren't the best. UNLV's better than Oregon State. UNLV's going to hold Idaho State here to under 19.5 points. I'd be surprised if they score 17, really. I think, again, this is going to cap out for Idaho State at 14 points. And sure, there's always the threat of the garbage time touchdown and the garbage time scores. I completely get that. But UNLV's a 26.5 point favorite in this game. I believe, again, they will hold Idaho State. Something that needs to be said, I guess, is that this game was scheduled to be in week 3. Week 2 got pushed ahead to week number 0. Both teams haven't had the most time to prepare for this, like 5 weeks. Again, this was supposed to be a later in the year matchup. I think UNLV is going to be more than fine in this matchup. I think, again, moving the game up a couple weeks hurts Idaho State than it does UNLV. It hurts them more. Because you look at, Idaho State was going to go into this game playing Southern Utah. They were going to get to go on the road in Albuquerque against New Mexico, and then they were going to get UNLV. That's in week 3, excuse me. That's a big difference, because you get the experience of going to Southern Utah as a unit. You get the experience of going to Albuquerque and taking on UNM, a team who obviously lost a bunch in the portal to several schools, Utah being the main one. Different quarterback, obviously, with Devin Dampier, again, who is a Heisman dark horse 100% this season. That's a big difference, man. Because if you get that experience under your belt for going to Southern Utah, going to New Mexico, and then you get to go to UNLV, don't mind it. You're immediately going to UNLV to start the season at Allegiant Stadium. Nah. I think under team total points for the Idaho State Bengals here in week number 1, under 19.5 total points, minus 105 is the line. Sign me up for that. Let's go UNLV defense. On to our third best bet of the video. It is, this is out of order by 30 minutes. It's okay. We'll go with it. I'll save the Fresno State Kansas bet next. We're going to go to a 2-leg parlay as featured on Greedo Plays MMA. Go make sure to check that out. Link in the description down below. And we featured this on our 5 best bets for the UFC Shanghai card this weekend. We're going to be doing an cross-sport, thank you. Do a cross-sport parlay here. 2-leg parlay. We're going UFC fighter Rong Zhu to beat Austin Hubbard on the undercard of UFC Shanghai on very early Saturday morning. I'm talking like 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. 1 o'clock in the morning my time on early Saturday morning. Rong Zhu beats Austin Hubbard on the undercard, and Western Kentucky covers 2.5 points, alternate line of 2.5 points against Sam Houston State. That will get us to a parlay of minus 135. Guys, there's no value in Western Kentucky right now. Okay, in terms of just what we have off the bat, I don't like it. Okay? New quarterback, obviously, and Maverick McVor, obviously, coming from the FCS. Keaton Vetkamp, now at FAU. Too many moving pieces for me. Too many moving pieces. Mavericks over-under for passing yards is 280.5. Wow. Again, too many moving pieces. Western Kentucky's a minus 10.5 point favorite. I think they easily win the game, but 10.5's a lot, man. It's a lot to ask for, especially, right? Again, this is the beauty, I guess you can call it, of spreads in college football, or just football in general. Your team can be dominating the game. They can be up 34-17 with 3 minutes left. Here comes Sam Houston State with a garbage time touchdown. They cut the lead down to 10, and okay, they cover, right? If there's a team I like, and there's a team we know has played great football all year long, and we are confident in, we've seen them play all year long, I'd be perfectly fine with 10.5. I don't like it for Western Kentucky on week number 1 or week number 0 against Sam Houston State, and not a bad Sam Houston State team. Obviously, right, we talked about it at the beginning of the week, and it still remains true. Western Kentucky had a huge victory over the Bearcats last season. It was a game played at Sam Houston. Sam Houston had a lot of momentum. What WKU did at the same time, in all fairness, right, they were coming off of a very competitive game against Boston College and a win over Texas El Paso at the time, but they go into Sam Houston and they stomp the Bearcats 31-14. They really limited what Hunter Watson was able to do in that football game with his arm and with his legs as well. Again, I think WKU wins, especially with the game being in Bowling Green, Kentucky this time. However, let's just take the easier play here and go minus 2.5. And again, we can get minus 135 with this if we parlay UFC fighter Rong Zhu. Now, I know this is not a UFC video, and again, we have completely moved all of our UFC content and PFL and just MMA content in general over to Greedo Plays MMA, so go check that channel out again. That is linked in the description down below. But we do need to talk a little bit about Rong Zhu here and why he is the technically first leg of the parlay, because this goes on obviously before the WKU football game. Rongju's a guy who's 26-6. He's had 32 professional MMA fights at 25 years of age. He's in his second run with the UFC, but he's coming off a unanimous decision victory over Cody Steele. His first fight in his return was a loss to Chris Padilla. Padilla, very well accomplished regional fighter who came in there and upset Rongju, which, by the way, I picked Chris Padilla as like a plus 250 underdog. Neither here or there. Rongju's coming off that win over Cody Steele at UFC 312, Duplessis Strickland 2, and he's taking on Austin Hubbard, who really shouldn't be in the UFC anymore. Hubbard's 33 years old. He's been losing to old men like Kurt Hollaball, like Vince from Hell Pichel in his first UFC stint in 2021. He's coming off losing 3 of his last 4 fights, dating back to the Ultimate Fighter finale card in Boston in August of 2023, where he lost to Kurt Hollaball by triangle choke, came back and beat Michael Figlak by unanimous decision. That fight does not move me. Lost a split decision to Alexander Hernandez and a split decision to Marquel Medeiros. Both of those fights, though, those were not split decisions. We definitely thought Hubbard lost both those fights, and it should have been unanimous. So I'm not high on Hubbard at all. Again, he needs to win this fight to remain in the promotion, and Rongju is, again, a guy who's got more than enough experience at his age, 25. This will be the 33rd walk into a professional mixed martial arts cage for him early on Saturday morning. And in addition to that, he is fighting in his home country of China. He's not from Shanghai, nor does he train in China anymore. He trains out of Auckland, New Zealand, and he's from Huaishei, China, where apparently it snows. Wow. He's nowhere near from Shanghai, but it's his country. He's a lot closer to China than Austin Hubbard is in Denver, Colorado, okay? Or Colorado Springs, Colorado, wherever he trains at. Yeah, give me Rongju to win that fight, and we parlay that again with Western Kentucky minus 2.5. That gives us a minus 135 parlay. Absolutely love it. And again, go make sure to check out Greedo Plays MMA for more MMA content. Okay, on to our 4th best bet of the video. This one is technically before the Sam Houston Western Kentucky game, but here we go. Fresno State Bulldogs on the road against the Kansas Jayhawks. We're going to buy a couple points here. The line right now is set at plus 12.5 for Fresno State. We're going to buy 2 points and make that plus 14.5 for Fresno State. So right now, as I'm looking on FanDuel, plus 12.5 for Fresno State set at minus 105. Again, you buy those 2 points, and you get this exactly, I'll get the accurate line, minus 136. I put minus 135 on the graphic. Again, that's close enough. This should help us a lot. A 2-touchdown win for the Kansas Jayhawks does not cover the spread for them. Perfect. There is a slim chance Fresno State, it's slim, but there's a chance, Fresno State goes on the road and straight up just beats Kansas. I think there's a chance that happens. We'll see. I am higher on E.J. Warner than a lot of people. Now, E.J. Warner, I believe, took him a while to get named the actual starting quarterback for them. He did officially win the job, but it got announced a lot later into the cycle than at least we would have wanted it to. But it is what it is. He's the starter. We'll see. Like, hey, I mean, there's a guy like Malachi Nelson for UTEP who, just got declared the starter, even though we'll get into him next week when we talk about UTEP. But again, E.J. Warner wins the starting job. It was his job to lose. They have a bunch. He's the only quarterback. He's the only upperclassman quarterback on the roster. So again, Warner needed to get the starting job, and he got it. Obviously, son of Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner. EJ had a weird year last year with Rice. Really did. He got so much better as the year, carried on. Had a rough outing, in all fairness, at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, but really finished the year on a high note, beating USF 35-28 for Rice and throwing for 430 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. E.J. Warner, again, a senior who has been there, played at Temple, played at Rice, had better years at Temple in all fairness, but gets a huge step up, let's be honest. Playing down at Rice and Temple, it's a step up going to the Mountain West. And especially for a school like Fresno State, who is supposed to be competitive. Obviously, they play for the milk can every year. The milk jug, is it? Milk jug every year against Boise State. They've got the Valley versus the Bay rivalry against San Jose State. Like, you are expected to show up. You are expected to be the man. And they've had a plethora of great quarterbacks in the past as well for Fresno State. Again, David Carr, Derek Carr, Jake Hayner, Mikey Keene, who is now obviously, who is going to maybe start for Michigan. Probably not. I think they're going to go Underwood, right? I don't know. Apparently it's back and forth. I think it should be Keene, but like Underwood's still a true freshman. You go with the 22-year-old who's proven himself at Fresno State, but that's neither here or there. There is a long list of great quarterbacks. And again, if Mikey King starts at Michigan, okay, again, you just keep on adding to the illustrious list of Fresno State quarterbacks. E.J. Warner has to step up to the plate. You have to. Again, if the expectation wasn't high enough because of the last name, it's higher now because, again, you're playing at Fresno. So you go on the road to Kansas. Difficult place to play. Difficult. Look at all that success Kansas had at the end of the year. Obviously, the game that's going to stick out in everyone's mind is the game where they played against Colorado, where the Buffs were still in the playoff hunt. They were 100% in it. They were in it to potentially make the Big 12 championship game. Kansas said, no, none of that, right? Devin Neal runs for like 200-something yards against the Colorado Buffaloes. Well, Devin Neal's not around no more. Jalen Daniels still is. Jalen Daniels is still here. He's 24, 23 now. He coined himself the oldest starting quarterback in college football, oldest returning quarterback in college football. Daniels isn't the reason they win games, okay? He's good. His total stat line 2024, 2,450 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. He got better as the year went on, and partially that was because of Devin Neal, because there's always such a threat of legitimately one of the best running backs in college football giving you problems. However, Jalen Daniels would have his struggles. Look at the game against Baylor. That was a win and get into a bowl game type deal for the Jayhawks. Jalen Daniels threw for 280 yards, but threw 2 picks. QBR was 48 in that game. He'll have his bad nights, even in their win over BYU. I mean, Jalen Daniels was not the reason they won the game. The reason that they won games like that was because of their running back core, and obviously that all started with Devin Neal, who would legitimately rip off 200-yard games on a week-in and week-out basis. You take away Devin Neal from that team, I don't think they're going to be as good. I don't think so. I think Fresno State's really underrated. I think they are. They were very competitive last year in multiple games. I mean, I remember we had them to cover at Michigan. If it wasn't for a pick 6 at the end of the game, we would have covered, but it's okay. They were competitive at the end of the year against UCLA. They lost the Idaho Potato Bowl, which was just stupid. They should have won that game. That was so dumb. Joshua Wood went to Idaho? I don't know about that. Just because I think he should have stayed, but it's okay. They were starting their true freshman Joshua Wood in that game because Keenan had already hit the portal, and they should have beaten Northern Illinois. They missed a field goal at the end of the game, or no, it was either they hit a field goal or Northern Illinois hit a doink field goal. Was that what it was? I think they missed a 40-yard field goal to win the game. Anyways, Fresno State was a good football team last year, right? They beat a good Colorado State team at the end of the year. I mean, that Colorado State team with Fowler Nicolosi was winning games at the end of the season. They had dominated San Jose State on their own home turf. I think they're going to be very competitive with Kansas this week. Are they going to win? I don't know, but I think it's going to be close enough. I think Fresno State is a dark horse to win the Mountain West this season. Will they do it? Probably not. Let's just be honest. It's going to be Boise State probably. I think San Jose State actually has a really good chance to do it as well. I think Walker Gett's going to be much better in his second full year as a starter. But again, you take away Nick Nash and whatnot. I like Fresno State to cover plus 14.5 here. Again, we are buying points for a very good reason here. Fresno State plus 14.5. That gets us to minus 135. On now to our final best bet of the video. Of course we're doing it. Maybe my most controversial pick on our full college football week 0 predictions. The Stanford Cardinal go on the road to Honolulu, Hawaii, and they will beat the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. On CBS, on national television, yes, I'm taking Stanford to do it. I understand this is a tough place to play simply because of the travel. You have to go over the entire Pacific Ocean. But if there was a spot where playing Hawaii isn't as bad as it could have been, okay, here's the comp I'm going to make. Last year in week 0, Delaware State went on the road to play Hawaii. It was the longest travel any team has ever had to take in for a because that would be inside the States. For a United States football game, Delaware State had to go the furthest out of any team in the history of college football had to go for week 0 last year. Obviously, all the way up in the Northeast in Delaware, all the way to Honolulu, Hawaii. Stanford's in California. It's still a long plane ride from, I assume, they're going to go to San Francisco. It's a long plane ride from San Francisco to Hawaii, but it could be a lot worse. I mean, legitimately, it could be worse. You could be in Colorado. I mean, again, that's another 2 hours, right? It's not that horrible of a trip for Stanford over to Hawaii. It's really not. First game of the year, Andrew Luck now in charge of football operations. Frank Reich, the new head coach, only for 1 season. They are not losing at Hawaii. They are not. Especially with Hawaii's quarterback situation. they're starting a freshman, or they're starting a sophomore who hasn't played yet, who hasn't made many starts in college football. Braden Schrager, obviously their longtime quarterback, is gone. And Stanford has made the decision they are not starting Elijah Brown. I was surprised that that's not the move that they made. Instead, it has been Gulbranson, former Oregon State quarterback who was talked out of retirement to come back and play for Stanford. They have named him the starting quarterback. Got the last 4 games of the year last year for Oregon State. The Beavs did go 1-3 in those games. He wasn't that bad, though. 4 touchdowns and 4 picks and 1,000 yards. His best performance, though, in a win over Wazoo, where Oregon State puts up 41 points in the Cougs, win that game 41-38. Yes, he threw 2 interceptions, but 300 yards. Had a very good game against San Jose State. Threw a couple picks, but I mean, the numbers were there. This is not a horrible quarterback. It's really not. And this is the perfect lead-in for him getting back into the swing of things, obviously, as a starting quarterback in college football. You get Hawaii, you get a Mountain West team, and that's a team that was playing in the same conference as you were last season. And in Gulbranson's starts last year, he had to start against California, who was not a horrible team, San Jose State. He was impressive against Wazoo, because you're supposed to be impressive against Wazoo, especially against that defense. And then Boise. His last start, he had to go on the road to Boise, on the blue turf. That is a difficult matchup. He gets the start. Again, I thought it was going to be Elijah Brown, but ultimately Elijah Brown still has a lot of years left. He is a redshirt freshman this year. Elijah Brown, if Stanford wants to go that way, can be the starting quarterback for the next 3 seasons here at Stanford. They're going to go Gulbranson at least to start the year for the Cardinal. And that's okay. You get a veteran quarterback who is 23, 24 years of age, a guy who was with Oregon State from 2020 all the way into 2024. Again, this is a guy who's been around college football for a very long time. There is a reason Frank Reich, who is a former NFL coach, again, did he have the most success in the National Football League? No. But you get a former NFL coach on a 1-year deal here at Stanford. The reason why he's here is to win in the bridge year. There's a reason Andrew Luck took this job. Again, it is to win, and it is to win this 1 year. And obviously, Luck's here for the long haul, but they need to get this rebuild and this reconstruction of Stanford Cardinal football back on the right track. Back to the days where Andrew Luck was the starting quarterback, where Christian McCaffrey here was, Toby Gerhart was here, when Ty Montgomery was here, and obviously way back when John Elway was the starting quarterback at Stanford. That's the heights that Stanford is trying to re-reach. Can they get there? I do not know. But this is the start of that chapter. And don't forget, 2 years ago, Stanford went to Hawaii and dominated the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And Braden Schrager was playing that game. They go to Hawaii September 1st, 2025. That was a week, by the way, where Hawaii was coming off of a very competitive game against Vandy in week 0. They then proceed to play Stanford the week after. But yeah, they went to Vandy and almost beat them. They then proceeded to play Stanford, and they got blown out. It was a 13-point loss. Hawaii scored a garbage time touchdown. Game wasn't as close as the final score indicates, okay? Stanford's going to go to Hawaii, and I believe they are going to win this football game, and I think the value is way too good to pass up on. We get plus 105 on the Cardinal to go on the road and win this game. They have the better talent. They have the better quarterback, I believe. I think they win this football game. I really think they do. Line, again, is set at plus 105 for Stanford. If you want the spread, it's 12.5. Or sorry, not 12.5, 2.5. I don't know. We're okay here. We are okay. I'm going to be taking the Stanford Cardinal to win this game against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. They will get it done, and they will win on the road on CBS. That's my favorite play of the week. It legitimately is. I love the plus money here. Stanford's going to go on the road and win. Folks, thank you for watching our 5 best bets for college football here in week number 0. We'll be back next week for probably 10 or even 15, probably 15 best bets here on the channel, probably Thursday night yet again. So make sure to join us for that. Make sure to join us for our full college football week 1 predictions next Monday. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Again, we'll be back for more coming up next week. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.